What has your child's school done that made you so mad? I found out by accident during a neighborhood barbecue. Mrs. Addison from down the street casually mentioned how impressed she was that I was volunteering at the school's fundraising car wash every weekend. I had no idea what she was talking about. Turns out the middle school had been using my 13-year-old son Stewie and his entire 7th grade class as unpaid labor for their weekend fundraising events. For 3 months, they'd been telling parents the kids had mandatory community service while secretly pocketing money from car washes, yard sales, and concession stands. The principal, Jimmy, had convinced the kids this was required for graduation. He told them that if they didn't participate, they'd get failing grades in citizenship and wouldn't move to 8th grade. These 12 and 13-year-olds were washing cars in the hot sun for 6 hours every Saturday and Sunday, while adults collected the profits. But here's the twisted part. Jimmy was billing this as character-building education to parents, while advertising it as professional car wash services to customers. People were paying premium prices thinking they were supporting student activities, not knowing the kids weren't seeing a penny. When I asked Stewie why he never told me, he said Jimmy warned them that parents wouldn't understand the importance of building work ethic, and that complaining would prove they weren't mature enough for high school. The man had basically gaslighted an entire grade into thinking child labor was their educational duty. I started digging deeper and discovered this wasn't just car washes. The school had been renting out student labor for landscaping projects, warehouse cleanup, and even house painting for community members who paid the school directly. 7th graders were doing manual labor that adults were getting paid for. The worst part, parents had been donating money all year thinking the school needed fundraising help, while Jimmy was making thousands off our children's backs. He'd created a system where he got paid by customers, got donations from parents, and got free labor from kids. I called an emergency parent meeting and 26 families showed up. Every single parent thought their kid had been volunteering for a good cause. When we compared notes, we realized our children had collectively worked over 800 hours of unpaid labor that the principal had profited from. One dad who owned a construction company was furious because he'd unknowingly hired the school to provide student workers for a cleanup project. He thought he was supporting education, not participating in an elaborate child labor scheme designed to line the principal's pockets. We stormed the next school board meeting with documentation of every event, every hour worked, and every dollar the principal had collected. Board members' faces went white when they realized the liability they were facing. Child labor violations are federal crimes. The state education department launched an investigation the next week. They discovered Jimmy had been falsifying timesheets, misrepresenting the nature of the work to parents, and keeping detailed profit records that proved this was intentional fraud, not a misunderstanding. Jimmy got arrested for child labor violations and fraud. The school district had to pay every family restitution based on minimum wage calculations for hours worked. They also faced federal fines for allowing the scheme to continue for years, across multiple grade levels. But the real satisfaction came when the local news picked up the story. The footage of Jimmy being led away in handcuffs while kids cheered from the school windows went viral. Parents across the state started investigating their own school's volunteer programs. Stewie never had to wash another car. The new principal sent home a letter apologizing and promising that any future fundraising would involve actual volunteers, not mandatory child labor disguised as education. Some people said we were overreacting, that a little hard work never hurt anyone. I told them there's a difference between teaching work ethic and running a child labor camp for profit.